It's a scary predicament to be in when you find out something bad about your workplace and you don't know who to tell. But you do have rights as an employee, and especially if you work for the federal government. John Mahoney, partner at Tully Rinckey, is here to tell us how the issue has really come to the forefront. So when people think of whistleblowing, they automatically think WikiLeaks, but what's the difference?
Well, the difference is that if you're a federal employee and you reasonably believe that you've witnessed some violations of law, rules, regulation, gross mismanagement, abuse of authority, gross waste of funds, or substantial and specific safety violations, you have rights if you disclose those violations properly. Recently, we saw the case with Teresa Chambers, who's the returning park police chief, who was fired as a result of blowing the whistle about waste, fraud, and abuse against the Park Service.
Well, she had complained publicly, too, to the newspapers about how they were understaffed, not enough funds for her department, and she got the axe, apparently, for that.
Yeah, and she's been off of work for 7 years now, and just yesterday she returned to work after 7 years, having been returned to work by the Merit System Protection Board, which ruled in her favor finally.
Now, at what point do you become a whistleblower versus talking to your manager directly above you and then waiting to see if something happens, because then they can cut your throat off for just being a bad employee, for example?
Sure. The best way to blow the whistle if you are in the federal government and you believe you've witnessed a violation of law is to go to the Office of Special Counsel, osc.gov. That's the agency that investigates and enforces the Whistleblower Protection Act. The other alternative is to go to your agency's inspector general. The worst thing you can do is to go to the wrongdoer, the person you believe who has violated the law, because that doesn't constitute a protected whistleblower disclosure. You need to go to someone who has the authority to fix the issue.
John, this all sounds very noble, and I know that people have their best intention at heart. But what happens to those few that are doing this just out of retribution or because they're unhappy employees? Is there a way that you can really differentiate between the good whistleblower and the one that's just trying to cause trouble?
Sure. The key phrase in the statute is reasonably believes that there's a violation. They have to be able to show the Merit System Protection Board or the Special Counsel that in fact a violation of law has occurred. They can't just make something up. There has to be concrete evidence to support that conclusion. And the purpose of the Special Counsel and the MSPB is to root out the bad whistleblowers from the good whistleblowers.
Now, what happens if you go through channels and you don't see anything happening versus, well, if I would have gone to TVD or talked to Morris Jones or gone to the newspaper, something better would have happened? What do you do?
Well, it certainly helps to get a qualified attorney to represent you if you believe you are in a whistleblowing situation and you haven't received the results from your agency that you had expected. Secondly, it is helpful to get input from congressional representatives and from members of the press in terms of trying to move these cases along.
Is going public a bad thing to do?
Well, it certainly wasn't the greatest thing for Teresa Chambers. It took her 7 years to get back to work. But certainly you have to weigh whether what you're disclosing is classified information or otherwise not publicly available information, like the WikiLeaks case. Because if you disclose those things to the press or the public, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble.
Are there newer laws to make this easier to protect the employee?
Well, there's a bill pending in the Senate, Senate Bill 437, which is the Whistleblower Protection Enhancement Act, which is supposed to close a lot of the loopholes and a lot of the problems which have led to cases like Ms. Chambers, which have taken 7 years to go all the way through the system and have cost thousands and thousands of dollars for the whistleblower employee. So if that statute passes the Senate, it has already passed the House, and the President signs it, then there will be significant changes to the way that whistleblowers are protected in the federal service.
Good information from Attorney John Mahoney, our guest here on Capital Insider. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Morris.